Hi all, and welcome to the very first video of Derek W10's guide on raceclub.com. Today I'm going to show you basically how I train my horses to get them fit and how I work out the distances, etc., and hope that this helps new people that are joining the game. So we're going to start off with two brand new horses that I've just bought from the sales ring. We have a filly here, and on this tab here we have a colt, and I'm going to train these exactly the same way and then show you the different ads, and hopefully this guide helps you. Anyway, with all horses, what I do is I always start off training them at the same distance on the same going, and I do the same 3 TTs every single time. So as an example, I'm just going to show you here. So I'm going to train this horse, and I'm going to train over America 1400 fast and just 1 TT, and then we're going to do exactly the same with the colt. So go America 1400 fast and 1 TT. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to show you the difference between a colt and a filly. Colts actually hit higher TTs than fillies, but you'll learn this as the game goes along. So here's the very first TT for the filly, and we go here, and here's the first TT for the colt. So you can see the filly was actually higher than the colt. On naked TTs, they can be, because the colt has an extra add to add when we get to that stage. Anyway, so that's the first TT. The second TT I always do is over a classic distance, which is 2-2. Now, what we're looking for here is we're looking for a jump of a length or more, and then we assume that this horse would be more of a classic distance horse. So just an example, here's all the distances. So I train at 1400 first, then 2-2, then 2850, and every time I train I want a length gap. If there isn't a length gap, then I will go back to sprint. So for example, if I train this horse now and it doesn't jump a length, I would assume it's a sprint. If it jumps a length, then I'm going to assume it could be a classic horse, and then I would train at the stayer distance, and if it jumps another length, then I would assume it's a stayer horse. So just to show you, I'm going to do 2-2 there, 2-2 here, just 1 TT, so 8.96. So if you remember, the filly was hitting 7. I'll just go and show you. So it hit 7.05 and now it's 8.96. So that's more than a length jump. So I now know that this filly is either going to be a classic distance horse or higher. We do the same with the colt. That's 7.69, so that one's jumped over 2 lengths, I think. So 5, 6, 7, yeah. So again, so we now know this colt is going to be more of a classic horse than a sprinter. So now we do exactly the same again, but this time over 2850. So we go 2850 for the colt, and we'll go 2850 for the filly. So as you can see there, both horses have actually gone backwards. So we just have a look at the colt. So the colt has gone backwards. So I would say this colt is more of a classic horse. And if you look at the filly, you will see that this filly is more of a classic filly. So what I do now is, now I know the horse, or both horses in this case, are both classic distances. What I tend to do now is I train over the distance I found out to be the best, and I try all the goings. And to do this, I just do 6 TTs at one time. I'll show you now. So I'll go train this horse. I go all tracks, 2200, all goings. We'll do the same for the colt. So all tracks, 2200, all goings. 6 TT. So we'll train the colt, and we'll get 6 TTs there, and then we'll train the filly. Get 6 TTs there. So what we're looking for now is we're looking for a TT that kind of jumps out. Now, as you play the game, this will, more and more TTs will jump out depending on the fitness. This is something you're going to learn as and when the game goes on. So what we got here so far is, looking at this, I would say the standout TT for the filly is the 2200 Gelding time, which is 10.73. So we're just going to remember that for the for the filly. And for the colts may be a little hard to work out. They're pretty close-ish, but I would say again, the Yeldin TT looks like it stood out. So it looks like both these horses have come up Yeldin. So what I do now is I apply the ads. Now ads are different for colts and fillies. So on a filly, you have shoes and blinkers, and for a colt, you have shoes, blinkers, and geld. So what I'll just do is you don't apply too many ads at once. So the blinkers are always the last to apply. So for a filly, we're just going to stick on the shoes, and then we're going to do 1 TT over England 2200 Yeldin. It doesn't matter what turf track you use. You could use Australia or Hong Kong, but I just go for England. And we're just going to give that filly 1 TT with the shoes on. Now it hits 12.27. So if you just look here, down here at 1073. Now it's trained on a little bit, so it would have hit more than that anyway. But now we put the shoes on, you can see it's jumped quite a bit. So we now know that it's got over a length for shoes. So we're just going to go back to the training page on that one for now, and then exactly the same for the colt. So training him. The only difference with the colt is I put the geld on at the same time as the shoes, because the geld you can't take off once you've chopped off the nuts, if you like. They're chopped off for good. So we're just going to buy a geld and put some shoes on. Change it to England 2200 Yeldin. Now this should jump up quite a bit from the TDs that we have already. Okay, as you can see, jumped up to 1392. So I'm just going to show you here. So it's gone from 9.46 here. A couple of trains later with the golden shoes, we're now hitting 13.892. So the next TT, we're just going to go and train again, just 1 TT, because it's always good to do another TT before you apply more ads, just in case there's a bit more of a jump. So we'll train the filly, and we'll train the colt. Okay, as you can see, the colt has gone up a little bit, and the filly actually went backwards a little bit. And now this is a good example of showing you the random factor in the training times. It doesn't always go up every time you train it. There's a random factor on the TT time, so they can go up and down all the time. And obviously this is what makes it a little harder to work out how good your horse is, and this is why a lot of training is actually needed to find your horse's best going. But anyway, now we've tried this, what we're going to do is we're going to put the blinkers on. So we're looking for like quite a big jump from 12.27, but sort of like half a length or above, to see if this filly likes blinkers. So let's give this a try. Okay, as you can see, it's gone backwards with the blinkers. So now I would say this filly doesn't like blinkers at all, so we will take them off straight away. Now we're going to do exactly the same with the colt. Just going to put the blinkers on. And as you can see, the colt has jumped quite a bit there. It's jumped from 1412 to 1477. So I would say the colt likes the blinkers. So now that we've come this far, really what I would do now is I would just test, because these are both classic horses, I would test a few more distances out. So I'll give you an example. With a classic horse, I always would test 1600 and 2.4. I would always do the 2.4 first, and then 1600 is kind of like more of a backup type thing. For sprinters, say if you bought a sprinter, I'd always try 1200 and 1600 because they're the sprint distances. And if you've got a stayer, I'd always try the 3.2 distance and the 2.4 distance. Something to note about the 3.2 distance: the 3.2 TTs will always be less than the 2850 TTs. If you ever get one that isn't, the chances are you've got a pretty good 3.2 horse. But 3.2 can be quite a lot less sometimes than 2850, and your horse will still run really well at it. But again, that's something you're going to have to learn as the game goes on. Obviously, on day one of training, you get a lot of training times. Normally you only get 6 per day, but on buying a first horse, you always get unlimited TTs up to when you train above 95%. So I already know this filly looks good on 2200 Yeldon. So now I'm just going to try, because it's a classic horse, 24. So what we're looking at before I do that, I'm just going to show you. So we know it doesn't like blinkers, so we're sort of like hoping for like a high 12, low 13 over 2-4, and then we'd assume that this filly gets 2-4. So let's have a quick look. Only needs slight improvement at 2-4 though. It doesn't need to be a big jump. You know, if you've got something that's saying hitting 12.5, and then the next TT at 2-4 is like 12.7, I would say your horse actually gets 2-4. Sometimes you can even be a bit behind and they still get 2-4, but again, that's something you're going to have to learn as the game goes on. So I just hit time trial there. As you can see, quite a big jump to 13.3. So I now know that this filly gets 2-4 for definite. So now we're just going to do exactly the same to the colt, because we had this TT here, 2-2 Yeldon, 14.77. So this will be the colt's last training time as well today. So just going to go 2-4 Yeldon and hit train time. And as you can see, it stayed about the same. So this would need more training. It could get 2400, it could not. This is a good example to show that how close 2400 can be sometimes to 2200. So that's your first cycle done on a colt and a filly. Just double check the filly. Yep, the filly's gone above 95%. So yeah, I've gone through basically what you're looking for between each gap of TT, from 1400 to 2850. You need a length improvement in each one. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to show you some examples of later training going on my horse. So what I'll do is I'll just go to this here. Now, this is a horse mine called Sweet Naz, which is actually a really good horse. It runs in challenge races. I'm just going to show you how I trained her when I first got her. So as you can see, my very first TT was 1400 fast, just like I've showed in the example. And then I went to 2200 fast, and I can see that it didn't improve. So I went back down to the sprint distances, and as I said, I done one TT over each distance, and then it looked like on this that they're pretty close, and it's quite hard to tell which one was the best, but by the looks of it, I decided that soft was the best. So I'd done a couple of TTs over 1400 soft with the shoes on. As you can see, I applied the shoes, and we got 1177. Then as you see, remember I said it's always good to try shoes twice before you put on the blinkers, because look, that was a big jump from 1177 to 1241, and then I put on the blinkers, and as you can see, there was more improvement. But it did go backwards and then it jumped, so I kind of later on in this cycle I basically tried the blinkers again. Not actually sure if I ended up leaving them on. Yeah, I did. I ended up leaving them on. So as you can see from here, I ended up the next cycle. So I decided that it looks like soft was its best going on the very first cycle. Turns out that soft isn't its best going, as you'll see later on. But anyway, so what I tend to do now is I would tend to on the second cycle normally is I would train over all different distances. But it looks like for this filly, I decided I've got plenty of time to train, so I'm just going to go straight away and train on all the goings over 1400. So you can see here, I've done a full cycle on soft, then a full cycle on good, then a full cycle on Yeldon, full cycle on muddy, a full cycle on firm, and then a full cycle on fast. And basically, this horse ended up being, don't think Yeldon's been on there yet, has it? Yep, Yeldon's on there. So as you can see, I decided after doing all the 1400 time trials, I decided that 1200 actually looked like its best distance. And as I said before, when you get a sprinter, what you want to do is you want to then make sure the horse, train at 1200 and 1600 to see if the horse gets it. So what I tend to do is I do a full cycle over 1200 on Yeldon because it was its best going. Looks like I did I do two? Yeah, oh no, just the one, and it did actually ended up doing okay at 1200 as well. And then I done exactly the same with 1600, and again it done very well at 1600 as well. And then after that, I think what I tend to do is I just train it sort of like what I need for a final. So say if a qualifier's coming up and I can see it's over muddy, I'll do like or over firm or something like that. I'll do a cycle on the going that the qualifier is, just to, you know, just in case I have to run unfit, I want to just double check what fitness and that I can run it. So exactly the same with this horse here. As you can see, I trained it over 1400 and it got 8.55. Then it didn't improve at 2.2. So then I done the 6 goings and it looked like I decided muddy was its best. So I put on the shoes down, done it twice. As you can see, again, the second DT, quite a big jump there. Then I put on the blinkers. The blinkers were actually, you know, they went backwards a little bit, but not massively. And then the next one was the same. So blinkers were actually quite hard to tell there. You know, it might even be that this horse still likes blinkers. I'm hoping I tried it later on in future cycles. Otherwise, it just goes to show you that sometimes even people like myself can not try blinkers enough. I mean, this horse could easily improve just from those 2 TTs there. But anyway, as you can see, then I done a full cycle with all the different goings, just in case there was a bad random on these ones here. And I decided then that I was going to train it over 1600 soft a few TTs, and then I went to 1400 firm and fast. So this one, it looks like I'm going a bit all over the place at the beginning because I'm not quite sure. But as you can see, I've actually not tried the blinkers again. So this horse could actually end up liking blinkers and improving. This is a very good example of why you should always take time training your horses. What probably happened here is I've probably bought so many and getting frustrated that, you know, I'm not getting an outstanding top challenger, or it might just be that I just didn't notice it. It is possible, but this is definitely something I'm gonna need to have a look at now. If I look at the race history, I've never tried blinkers at all, so it'd be interesting to see if all of a sudden I try blinkers later on today, if this horse gets it or not. But anyway, I'm just looking at my notes that I've got next to me to see if there's anything else I need to explain in training, and I don't think there is. So hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'm going to sign off and thank you for watching. Cheers, bye bye.